Hello guys and welcome back to Haymanager with me, Alex, and today we've got a pretty good video for you. Now, I'm recording this quite late at night, thus the weird lighting that's going on. I'm just trying to get ahead of the game, trying to actually get some content out there for you. I know I had 5 days where I obviously didn't do anything, but now sort of try and get back on the grind, get back on it, try and do at least a video every other day maybe, see what I can do for you. Obviously the 100 subscriber special is yet to be brought out. That will be out soon. I'm trying to work on that. Big time. So, starting off, we're going to look at every single team should I say, the one player, the most interesting player, the player that you should probably be looking out for your Fantasy Premier League sides, but in general, just through the season as well, really. It's a Fantasy Premier League type of video, but a video also that just highlights very interesting players throughout the league. So we're going to start off, we're going to go through chronologically anyway, but we're going to start off with Arsenal. And Arsenal's unique player that I've gone for is Emile Smith-Rowe. Emile Smith-Rowe, total points last year, 74, only had 1,438 minutes, so not that many games. That's probably, it's in and around about 15 full games. 5.5 million for you to pick up in your side. 7.7% of people have picked him. He's actually just signed a contract. Got the number 10 shirt, so he's taken over that role. The ICT index rank, so I'll go through that with you. That's an interesting one there. Influence, creativity, and I believe it's threat. That's the one, yeah. So it's overall what they can do. So I've got on the right hand side of the screen as well, you probably see my face sort of flash from different colours as I'm skipping through the different slides that I've made, or graphics should I say. So Emile Smith-Rowe, as you can see, on the right, it's probably above me here now. Emile Smith-Rowe's Fantasy Premier League sort of history. So you can see he had 96 minutes in the 1920 season, and the season after got 5 assists, 2 goals, nice few clean sheets. He's a good player for your midfielder role, but maybe someone that you just have as a backup. 5.5 million might get you a few points throughout the year if you need him to come off the bench. It's one of those. So Emile Smith-Rowe, a unique player, a player I quite like actually. Much more of a left winger, not very a central type of player, but obviously he's going to adapt to play that role. We'll then look at the new signing for Aston Villa, Emiliano Buendia. We're going to go through this quite quick. Emi Buendia, total points in the 1920 season, obviously with Norwich, because Norwich got relegated, 94 points, 2,458 minutes played. He's 6.5 million. Ranked 487th because obviously he's from last season. He's been selected by around about 12% of players. Now this is a direct replacement for Jack Grealish, near enough, Buendia. And in pre-season he's already assisted Ollie Watkins twice, so that would be an interesting one. He got 7 assists last time he was in the league with Norwich. And 6.5 million, it does remind me of the Jack Grealish type of signing for your Fantasy Premier League sides from last year, where he gets you a lot of points throughout the season. He's going to be the most creative player in that side. It's going to be interesting to see how he's going to perform with Ings and Watkins ahead of him. I think Watkins will play more of like a left-sided player. Bailey on the right, Ings up front, and then Buendia in behind. It's going to be a very exciting team to watch next year. We then move on to Brentford, and Brian Mbeumo has scored against Manchester United in the pre-season. We've not really seen him in the Premier League as of yet, but 5.5 million. I think he looks like a tidy little player. Plays on that right mid position, can play right wing, right forward. Only been selected by 1.3% of people as well. So Mbeumo, a midfielder you can pick up for quite a nice amount of money. Obviously, his influence and everything about him isn't going to be known as of yet because Brentford haven't been in the league. But Mbeumo has partnered Tony a lot throughout the seasons. They've got another left winger. I can't remember the name of him now. The Spanish one. He's very, very good. They've obviously bolstered the side as well with Aya and Onyeka and players like that, and Raya in there, who's a sensational talent as well. And that German midfielder, the 24-year-old German midfielder, I can't remember his name, it begins with a K. He's incredible. So Mbeumo, another one you're going to look out for if Brentford managed to pick up some points, much like Leeds did last year. Brighton, we're going to go straight on to Brighton. Enoch Mwepu, he's a new signing for them. I've gone for a new one here. I think Basuma is a bit more of a defensive player, and Mwepu is probably going to be a player that maybe enables him, but also enables himself to get quite a few goals. You've seen it in the Austrian league where he came from. Mwepu, 6 million is quite a lot for a midfielder. That's £500,000 more. You're going to be getting Buendia, who's guaranteed to get you quite a few assists. And Mwepu, a bit more of a box-to-box midfielder, isn't particularly that fantastic to get you points-wise. Anyway, he might get you a few bonus points and that whatnot. But a very impressive player nonetheless in real life. 0.2% of people have picked him. nothing really to report on his Premier League stats at the current moment in time anyway, because he's obviously just come from the Austrian league, from I believe it's Salzburg. But yeah, he's an interesting one to look at throughout the season. Now, another one here, James Tarkowski. Now, Burnley are very lucky to be keeping this man. I think James Tarkowski is wanted by Southampton, Wolves, Everton as well, surprisingly. But yeah, total points last year, 109 with Burnley, which is a lot for Burnley. He played near enough every single game, 3,240 minutes, 5 million. That's the reason I picked him. 5 million. His ICT index rank, 85th out of, I believe, it's not 489. You know, it is 489, yeah, out of a total amount of players, 489. He's only been selected by 1.4% of people as well. So Burnley, if you do back Burnley to be the defensive sort of core that they have been towards the end of last season, where Chris Wood was picking up goals galore, you're going to look at James Tarkowski to pick you up quite a few points throughout the season. A nice £5 million defender. You've got to compare him to the likes of £5 million. I'm trying to think who's worth £5 million off the top of my head. I can't. Kufal's worth £5 million, I think. He's going to get you quite a few more assists, Kufal, but Tarkowski maybe a few more bonus points. That's the main one. Clean sheet rating wise, stuff like that. I think Tarkowski's a nice, interesting player to look at. Previous season, 143 points in the season prior to it. He's averaging around about 100 points. On a good season, 120. On a bad season, maybe 90, something like that. So he's a reliable type of player to bring into your side for only 5 million as well. Chelsea, we're going to go for an interesting one here. Another one who has been selected by more than 10%. I've tried to avoid people that have been selected by more than 10%, but Kai Havertz, a player that is going to be very underrated this year. Lukaku has just signed for Chelsea. We need to do a news announcement on that, I think, from my opinion anyway. But total points, 91 points last year, only played 1,512 minutes, which is nothing. Which is absolutely nothing in comparison. As again, around about 17 games, something like that. Price-wise, 8.5 million. I think it's a steal. I think it's an absolute steal. We've seen what he's capable of towards the end of last season. We've seen he's scored goals in big games, such as the Champions League. ICT index rank is very low compared to what I thought he might have been. But he's been selected by 11.2% of players. Now, I've done this throughout a week because I made all these graphics myself. So this might not be the most reliable stat, but at the time of me actually creating this graphic, that's what it was. So 8.5 million for him. I think he'll be playing in behind. I believe he's going to go for a 5-2-3, isn't he? So Kai Havertz might play he might change the system up. This is an interesting one. We don't really know what's going to happen, but Kai Havertz has to start for me, as well as Mason Mount, as well as Lukaku, as well as who else plays for them? Werner has to play. Sorry, it's going to be interesting to see where Kai Havertz fits. I think he can play like a right wing spot with Pulisic on the left and maybe Mount in behind with Werner playing as a striker with Lukaku or something like that. I don't know what's going to go on. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Kai Havertz works. 4 goals last year, 6 assists in only 1,500 minutes, which is absolutely nothing. 91 points. He's a lethal player and will score and get points for you throughout the year. Mark Guehi, another player that has just been signed by Crystal Palace from Chelsea, a player that I'm very interested to see how he does. 0 points last year, 0 minutes played, 4.5 million. He had a spell at Swansea. Swansea had 2 spells at 411 index rank. 0.3% of people have picked him. He's only 4.5 million now. He's a player that I would pick up definitely just as a backup. Him or Ben White or players like that who are just backups, straight up backups for 4.5 million. It saves you quite a bit of money on your defence, and he's just a sort of standing player if say you major 3 centre backs or major 3 defenders, should I say, in big games you want to try and bring in someone else. Guehi is your man. Then we go on to Ben Godfrey. Total points last year, 100 points, 2,683 minutes. Really proved himself last year that he's very versatile as well. Can play that right back spot, the centre back spot. 5 million for him. ICT rank 164 out of 489. Only been selected by 1.3% of people as well for 5 million. I think he's an interesting little player. I really like Ben Godfrey, the way he plays. He's an intelligent player. 100 points as well. He's very good for him. Only 2,683 minutes. 11 clean sheets. He got 2 assists. I think he's great in the air. I went to the United game today where they did play, and he was probably the best player on the pitch for them, Ben Godfrey, because he just seemed a lot more secure. He's got that ability to play the ball out from the back. He's confident. He's fast, strong, great in the air. I think Ben Godfrey's a good pickup, but Everton may be a struggle, but keep your eye out for Ben Godfrey. I think he might leave to go to a bigger club. Perhaps Chelsea might try and nab him. Places like that, I think he's probably going to get a move in January towards the end of this year if Everton don't really do as well as they've planned anyway. Next up, Leeds. So Jack Harrison has moved from Manchester City, should I say, to Leeds. He's got 160 points last year in 846 minutes. 6 million he cost you, 21st in the league in the ICT index rank, and only been selected by 5.5% of people. Now, I can't understand this. I know Leeds have a very difficult start to the season, but Jack Harrison's a player that you've got to look out for sure. There's a lot of rotation throughout this Leeds side. We see it a lot. I think the most we see sort of players like Luke Ayling or Stuart Dallas or what's his name now, Patrick Bamford playing the majority of the games, but Jack Harrison, Rafinha, I can't remember the other one now as well. But a lot of the wingers, they sort of interchange with themselves. So 8 goals, 10 assists, 15 bonus points, 160 points for his first time in the league last year. I think Jack Harrison is a steal myself, and he has to be a player that, if you have a midfielder spare that you can spend 5.5-6 million on, you've got to try and get him into your sides when Leeds are playing medium to low rated sides. Anyway, that's my opinion. Next up, Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes plays for Leicester, and he had an absolute beauty of a season last year. If you look at it, he only played half the season because he did pick up a big injury. But halfway through the season, he had 126 points. He's worth 7 million price range anyway. 47th ICT index rank. Only selected by 7.8% of people. Now, Leicester, we've just seen them win the Community Shield. So you've got to think about it. You think about how Harvey Barnes is going to impact your side. I think he's going to play every game. I think he plays every game. We can play him behind the strikers. He can play as a left winger. He can play as a left forward. He's a very versatile player. And as you can see here, last season as well, in the 1920 season, he got 6 goals, 10 assists, 9 clean sheets, 133 points. He played the same amount of minutes, but that's because he was coming through the ranks. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers harnessing his ability and really making him prove his potential. Anyway, let's put it that way. But yeah, Harvey Barnes, a player that you've got to keep your eye on. Really, really good. Now then, this is an interesting one. This is a very interesting one. When you think of Liverpool, you think of Salah, you think of Alexander-Arnold, Robertson. Those type of players are going to pick you up points. Personally, this year alone anyway, from pre-season, we've seen Mane pick up a lot of goals, a lot of assists in pre-season. We've seen it, well, this year especially. And in the ICT index rank, he's 4th. Last year, he got 176 points in 2,808 minutes because he did miss quite a bit of the season because of injury. But only selected by 3.8% of players. Now, I don't understand this. 3.8% of players is nothing for a player of this calibre. If you look at his stats on his Premier League profile, for the last, how many seasons that's since 2014-15, he's got 10 plus goals, and for the last 2 years in a row, he's got 10 plus assists. So he's always going to get you points. The minimum amount of points he's got is 137. So the return is always going to be massive from Mane. In 1920-18-19 season, 231 points, 221 points. Look at the amount of goals he's scoring. I think this year Mane is going to try and prove himself even more. I think Liverpool didn't click last year as much as they did. Mane is going to come back rejuvenated. Same with Salah. Firmino is going to probably be a bit more strict with himself. So Mane, Salah, I think Mane, I'd go with him. Salah is the obvious pick with a lot of people. Mane might be a sneaky little pick where only 3.8% of people have picked him because they're going for Salah instead for the extra 0.5 million. I think he might be a nice little steal. So Mane has made it into my side. I think he should be a player that you should all watch out for because this man might be on smoke this season. Next up, Raheem Sterling. After a great Euros, we've seen Raheem Sterling play pretty well, and we've seen Jack Grealish an addition to the Manchester City side. But Raheem Sterling last year, 154 points, 2,534 minutes. 11 million he is worth, 13th in the ICT index rank. And another player, interestingly enough, 3.1% of teams have selected him. He's 11 million, so he's a big purchase. But for the last few seasons, we've seen the reward that you get from picking him. since the 17-18 season, you're seeing 18 goals, 17 assists, 17 goals, 15 assists, 20 goals, 6 assists. But then last season, bit of a drop-off, 10 goals, 9 assists, because we've seen Phil Foden be added to the side. So De Bruyne being injured probably made it so that Raheem Sterling didn't get on the ball that much. He saw those balls through to him, as he likes to have his play on the back shoulder of the back line. It's a weird one. I think Raheem Sterling, he's an absolute genius of a player. You don't expect him to score goals. That's the main one. He's an out-and-out winger in his own way. But Pep Guardiola has found a way to get him scoring goals, as we've seen in the last 4 seasons. But even prior to that, we've seen him get a lot of assists. And I think Raheem Sterling's got to be a man you've got to maybe consider. You've got to really keep your eye on him, because if he does make a move to the other Premier League sides, I think he'll pick up his game. I think we'll see the return of the old Sterling, who had a few shots from outside the goal, outside of the box. A bit more confidence. That's what he needs. He needs more confidence. And I think the Euros has helped him sort of garner that confidence yet again. Next up, Manchester United. Now, I returned from the friendly game against Everton today, and Mason Greenwood is the man that I've picked for Manchester United. 106 points, 1,813 minutes played, 7.5 million price. The ICT index rank is 64 out of 492, so that's special in itself. 3.8% of people have picked him, which I find astonishing after last year when he had a breakout season. If you see that, 1,800, that is, again, probably half the amount of games I think you're looking at there. Because you're looking at 3,600 minutes, 3,800 minutes. So I think it's 3,600 minutes for near enough every single game anyway. But yeah, 106 points, so you're looking at 212 points if he doubles that this year. He's scored already in pre-season quite a few times. He's proven himself. He's come through for the last 2 years now and got 100 points in both seasons. 10 goals, 1 assist in one season. 7 goals, 2 assists in the season after, playing on that right wing spot. But this season he's going to have a different role. He's going to be the, not backup, but the sort of apprentice, should I say, to Cavani. Who Cavani's going to start the majority of the games. And we're going to see, obviously, what's his name now? Greenwood coming through and trying to take that striker role, that number 9 position, as we like to say, from him. And I think we'll see Greenwood score quite a few goals this year, coming off the bench, preferably starting a few games as well. So yeah, Greenwood's the man I've picked there. Now, I've gone for an interesting play here, Ryan Fraser. Ryan Fraser, a player from Bournemouth, who we'll look at in a minute, who moved to Newcastle on a free, 39 points last season, only 922 minutes. I think he was plagued with injuries. 5.5 million, 201st in the ICT index ranking, only selected by 0.2% of players. Newcastle, an interesting side, not doing too well in the pre-season, but we've seen Ryan Fraser at his best. 7 goals, 14 assists in that season. Prior to that, 3 goals, 9 assists in the season, 2 seasons before. Before that, 100 points in a season. 73 in the following season as he was leaving Bournemouth and then had a bit of a sulk. Then Newcastle came knocking. I think when he gets started, and he's been starting quite a few games, he's scored a goal in pre-season, he's set up 2 or 3. I think Ryan Fraser's the man for the job. And Newcastle are going to try and get the best out of him because he is phenomenal on his day, unstoppable on his day. There was rumours he was going to go to Liverpool, he's that good. So he's a man that they've got to think about, Newcastle, and how they can try and get the most out of him. Definitely. Next up, Norwich. Now, the obvious one is probably Pucky. But I've gone for Todd Cantwell. Todd Cantwell in the 1920 season, just the 2 seasons ago when Norwich obviously were in the league. 111 points, 2,484 minutes, 5.5 million he's worth this year. ICT index rank, obviously unapplicable, but 2.6% of teams have selected him. I think he's an interesting player to go for. Norwich have got a decent side, but he's going to be the starlet again. He's going to be the guy that's going to go forward, try and create anything from it. I've seen him in pre-season. He played an absolute scorcher of a pass and a beautiful, beautiful bit of play for him. So he's had 2 years since his previous expedition in this league, and 111 points last time round. I think this time round you're going to get quite a few more points out of him. So watch out for Todd Cantwell, and let's see if Norwich can sort of maybe avoid the relegation battle. That's what they're going to be aiming for. Next up, Southampton. Now, Southampton have let go of their starlet, their main man, basically, Danny Ings. And now Che Adams is going to take his spot. The heir to the throne, Che Adams, 137 points last year, 2,662 minutes played, 7 million he's worth this year, 31st in the ICT index rank. I really like Che Adams. I was watching him last year. I think he's a phenomenal player. 1.8% of people have picked him as well. And he's going to be the main striker for Southampton next season, so he's going to be playing every single game. For Scotland, he was very, very good. He came off the bench and scored a goal in the Euros, I believe he did anyway, from what I remember. But 4 goals, 4 assists this season. Obviously 2 seasons ago now. Last season, 9 goals, 7 assists. Obviously with Danny Ings as well in the side, who takes the majority of the shots for Southampton. But Che Adams, a bit more of a complete forward, a bit of a playmaker come target man who can head the ball down, hold up play, distribute. He's like a Harry Kane, but Scottish. Let's just put it that way. Next up, Tottenham. I'm going to try and get through these now because I know it's a very long video for you to watch. Dele Alli, 30 points last year, 613 minutes, 6.5 million is worth this year, and under Nuno, he looks like he's going to get a few more minutes. He's been playing a lot of games in the pre-season. ICT index rank not very high. Only selected by 1.1% of people as well. He's a risky guy to go from the beginning. I think he's a player that you've got to keep your eye on throughout the season, see if he can reach his best, because we've seen him at his best. We've seen him get 18 goals, 11 assists, 10 goals, 12 assists, 9 goals, 13 assists the season after, then a complete drop-off under Mourinho, and Poch really lost faith in him. But we'll have to see if Dele Alli can really get back on that high horse, back on his level that he was on, because he was unreal on his day, unplayable on his day, Dele Alli. Some of the goals he scored was absolutely ridiculous, and I hope he gets back to his best, because he is one of the best players in the league when he wants to be anyway. Next up, Watford, the last 3 here now. We'll come into the home stretch. Ismaili Sarr, I can't say his name. Ismaili Sarr. 107 points in the 19-20 season when Watford were last here. 2,023 minutes played. 6 million is worth this year. 4.6% of people have picked him. Now, Watford are an interesting side, actually. I quite like the look at Watford. We've got a lot of strikers, a lot of midfielders. The depth is there. It's obviously because of the Championship you need that. But I think if they start playing this a similar side, getting the rotation correct, I think Ismaili Sarr going to be, going to be one of the best picks that you can choose. 5 goals, 7 assists last time he was here. In 1922 seasons on. Last year he had a phenomenal season in the Championship. This year, I think he's only going to get better. Him and João Pedro seem to be very, very special for this Watford side, as they're a very young side as well, especially. Watford obviously inherited that money from the Richarlison deal, and then we've seen them spend that very well in Ismaili Sarr and João Pedro. So Ismaili Sarr is going to start majority of the games. I remember that game where he played very well against Liverpool 2 years ago and really showed off what he was made of. And I think this year as well, Watford are going to be relying on him to sort of make and create all these goals. Next up, West Ham. Now, West Ham had a phenomenal year last year. They've obviously lost Jesse Lingard since then, but they've recruited all right, really. From what I've heard, Milinkovic might be joining them, the Fiorentina centre-back that I do rave about quite a bit. But Said Benrahma joined them from Brentford. I believe it was like probably 2 or 3 seasons. It might even be 2 seasons ago now. His first season was with them last year. He got 73 points, 1,376 minutes played, 6 million he's worth, 119th in the ICT index rank, and 1.9% teams have selected him. Now, he has only had 1 season here, 6 assists, 1 goal, 1,376 minutes played, 73 points. Now, in the pre-season, you should have seen him. He has scored an absolute scorcher in this pre-season, where he tried to play 1-2, came back to him, he thought, I'll just hit this, curls it, top bins, perfect. Absolutely phenomenal goal. Really, really good. He has been probably the perfect replacement. He's already been outside. The perfect type of player to come in and fill in that Jesse Lingard role. I mean, I can't explain how great of a player he has been in pre-season. He looks like he's going to start the next few games. He's probably going to be 4-0 in behind with Benrahma on the left, and then Jared Bowen on the right, and then we're going to see Antonio up front, and then it's obviously the midfield 2 of Rice and Souček. But a very, very strong player in Benrahma, and not really many people have selected him, so a great player to pick up on, a great player to watch for the season, and another great player to sort of have a backup on the bench as well. Then the final player, we've gone to Wolves. Francisco Trincao. He's joined them from Barcelona. Pre-season, he has been a joy to watch. I watched a few of the highlights from 2 of the games from Wolves, and let's just say this man can play football really, really well. Total points, he's obviously had no points and no minutes, but 6 million. 0.5% of people have picked him. He is 6 million though. That's the problem. Looking at him or Ben Rama, you're probably going to go with Ben Rama because you know he's going to be a bit more efficient. You know he's going to get you the points. Trincão's a bit more of a risk. Midfielder, you don't know what he's going to be about in the Premier League. He is probably going to start majority of the game. It's going to be Haymanager, Traoré, Trincão, and then maybe Pedro Neto, if he comes back, might take Trincão's role. But yeah, 0.5% of teams have picked him. I think he's a nice little buy. And overall, that's pretty much it. I'm absolutely worn out after that. But a phenomenal amount of players there that haven't been picked by a lot of teams in your fantasy Premier League sides, but also just to watch out for, because I think it'll be a joy to watch them in the Premier League next year. So yeah, I hope you did enjoy this video. I'm going to leave this here because I'm absolutely knackered now after speaking for 25 minutes or so. Hope you did enjoy. It's been a long stretch. I hope you did enjoy me just nattering on and talking about football. If you did, please leave a like. Subscribe if you are new. I'm going to try and get that 100 subscriber special out as quick as I can. And I shall catch you in the next video. From me, Alex, have a great day or night or evening, wherever you are. And ciao.